It is Locked On Jazz for the 26th of October. Big one tonight. Jazz and the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets with a stunning loss last night to Cleveland. We'll look at what happened to them, break down the matchup tonight, get you ready for the ball game, plus the road to 55 wins. What will it take for the Utah Jazz? It's all coming up on today's edition of Locked On Jazz. Pow!
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, how are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you very much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day every day. We appreciate it. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. You can hit the subscribe button right there. Also hit that little bell and make sure you get there. Also, have a little fun. Give us the likes, all those kind of fun things that help us show up on the whole YouTube realm of things. Good chat room conversation goes on our YouTube. If you watch it on that, you can always interact with that. Today we'll discuss the keys. Let you guys discuss the keys to the Jazz victory over the Denver Nuggets. All right, a bunch of stuff. I'm going to do something a little different on the YouTube end of things. Podcast is going to feel the exact same today. On the YouTube end of things, I've released two different shows. One is our first two parts of the show, which is just me and you. And then part three, which is going to go up as a separate YouTube premiere later today, is me and Adam Modis of Locked On Nuggets in a conversation previewing the game, which we actually did before they played the Cavaliers last night, where we were absolutely certain it would be two undefeated teams, and it's not. Because they lost last night, which is, oops, I jinxed it. On the podcast, it will feel exactly the same as it always does, as we'll just roll right into that segment. So don't fret if you're listening on any of the various podcast platforms. Okay, Jazz Nuggets. This is obviously Jokic Gobert more than anything else. And Jokic has just suddenly, after struggling with the three and not being able to handle Gobert, has now become dominant over Rudy. Last year, he's 20 of 30 from the field, 6 of 9 from three when guarded by Rudy. In 1920, he was 23 of 46. And then the playoffs, he was 63 of 119. So since 1920 season, he's now shooting 54% on 195 shot attempts. And he's 30 of 59 from three, 51% when guarded by Rudy. The craziest thing is Rudy's done the best job of anyone in the Jazz over that time period. He was 12 of 17 against Derek. He's 5 of 6 if you put O'Neal on him. Jokic has just simply become amazing. And he was the best player in the world last year. He distributes, rebounds, scores, 26 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists a game last year. And he's above that right now. He's at 35. He's at 28 points, 16 rebounds, and 4 assists a game. Right now, he's just amazing. And so Jokic just determines everything that goes on with this team. Now, what's really interesting with Denver right now is what's going on with Michael Porter Jr. And this is the one to watch tonight, because at some point he's going to bust out. And unfortunately, it feels like it could be tonight. So last year, after the ACL injury to Jamal Murray, Jokic took 17 shots a night. Michael Porter Jr. took 16. And then P.J. Dozier took 11, and Will Barton took 10, and Aaron Gordon took 8, and Monty Morris took 8. I mean, they really were lacking that second guy, but it seemed wildly obvious that the second guy this year would be Michael Porter Jr. That has not happened so far. In game one of the year, he took 10 shots, went 6 of 10. In the second game of the year, he took 3 shots. He went 3 of 10. And then last night in a 99-87 loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers, where their offense just never got going, he took 14 shots, but he went 4 of 14, was 3 of 9 overall. Denver's offense last night was an 89 offensive rating. There are two things that are causing Denver major problems offensively right now. One, they're throwing the ball all over the gym. They're over 20 turnovers are averaging over 20 turnovers in their first 3 games. They've had over 60 turnovers in 3 games. Might be because they're playing too many guys. They went with an 11-man rotation last night to try to get Bones Highland some time. He actually did a half-decent job at that point, and got them some buckets. But they're playing 11 guys right now, maybe because it was a back-to-back, but that's a little unusual. It's hard to do. It's hard to have a rhythm with your top guy, Jokic, playing 35, Barton playing 30. There just aren't, it's hard to do that. 9-man rotation is the more normal process for it to be done. Number two for them right now is they couldn't hit shots last night. They were 9 of 38 from three. So, to some extent, what happened last night to them in a loss to Cleveland is that they had a bad shooting day. And maybe that's more than anything else, is that they just simply had a bad shooting day. From the Jazz standpoint, you remember Bojan last year goes off against Denver. He has 48 points. He goes 6 of 23, 8 of 11. For the season, Bojan averaged 31 points against Denver. Now, 48 one game will do that. Remember, Jokic in the game Denver won, Jokic had 22 in the first quarter against us. He scored 47. Denver just kicked our butt on January 31st. And then the Jazz won 109-105 on January 17th, where Jokic and Murray is going. Donovan hit a jumper late. Clarkson carried the way. So this will be a good test. It'll be interesting to see where Denver is right now. They've been very, very good defensively. They've held their opponents to basically a point of possession. In fact, every team has in this. The Jazz have done the same thing. They have not allowed more than a point of possession so far this year defensively. So two teams that are pretty good offensively get going defensively. In our YouTube premiere and in our podcast, Adam and I will talk about a little bit more. Let's see. So I'm trying to look at my other notes here for you. I think I got it. So last night, Denver ends up just not ever getting a rhythm, not making shots early. And they actually trail with 6 minutes left. They're down like 14. So they get run a little bit by the Cavaliers last night. And so, that Mike Malone's teams usually bounce back a little bit. Michael Porter Jr. shooting 38% from the field and 35% from three. If you don't know Michael Porter Jr. well, he's 6'9", maybe 6'10", 220 pounds, massive big kid. And, frankly, has a game that is reminiscent, he is not, but reminiscent of Kevin Durant. Average 19.7 rebounds and is just almost impossible to get into his shooting pocket. So keys for me as I look at this one are going to be turnovers on both sides. Both teams have a propensity for a bunch of turnovers. The second area to look at tonight will be, who is Denver getting second scoring from? Not is Jokic going off, but who's Denver getting second scoring from? And then, quite honestly, Jokic has gotten better in the pick and roll defensively. Last year, he received, as a defensive player, he got the second most picks against him of anyone in the league. He ranked 60th out of 100 of the top 100 guys. The year before, he ranked 75th. So he's improving, but he's not great. Colin Sexton went around him a bunch of times last night. And Darius Garland made some nice plays last night. So can we pull Jokic out, make him move defensively, and impact him? By the way, if you have not seen Evan Mobley yet of Cleveland, watch that one last night. They're really interesting. I mean, they're basically starting 3 7-footers across the front line. Lauri Markkanen, Jared Allen, and Evan Mobley all are 6'10" or taller, starting on their front line. Then they bring Kevin Love off the bench. And Ricky Rubio off the bench with Isaac Okoro, who's just a great athlete. Cleveland's interesting. I mean, the league is just loaded right now. When I try to do this next part, which is the road to 55 wins, it is not easy to try to figure out at all. We'll do that. What is it going to take for the Jazz to win 55? I'll explain to you the metrics. I'll actually throw it up on the YouTube screen for you here in a second. Good morning to Lee and to Ray, to Bridger, to Matthew, to Bryce, to JC, to Jeff, and to 4 hashtag guy. We'll see what's happening. Special hello to all of them who've jumped in the chat room and said hello to us this morning. Tuesday edition of Locked on Jazz is brought to you by our friends over at Murdoch Hyundai. Jason Creech is my guy over at the 4646 South State Street. He emailed me the other day. They're available and arriving before December. So this is great news if you're looking for a car. 14 Elantras, 8 Sonatas, 15 Tucsons, 17 Santa Fe's, 10 Konas, and 2 Palisades. One of those Palisades might be gone because my Eric Noyes emailed me the other day and said, hey, can you set us up, get us a Palisade before they all are gone. And so he and Jason connected this weekend. So they may be down to one Palisade because one of our Locked On Jazz listeners have done it. Here's the great thing the Murdochs are doing. They are not charging you more than MSRP right now. They will not take advantage of this to try to gouge people. Blake simply said, I'm not going to the grocery store. I'm not going to church, and interacting with people and having them know that I took them for a little extra. We've been in business here for 80 years. We're going to be in business here for another 80 years, and we're going to keep that integrity that we have with the marketplace. That's what's special about the Murdochs, the connection to Utah, and the Hyundais with their amazing cars. I'm driving a Sonata right now. It's just outstanding, unless I'm driving my son Santa Fe. So we're just Hyundai through and through. So there's a truth to what I'm telling you about there. Today's show is brought to you by betonline.ag. If you're going to get into the action, the preferred place for the Locked On Podcast Network is with our good friends over at betonline.ag. Lots of different action for you to play and see on the NBA end of things as well. Tonight, the Jazz and the Denver Nuggets are the TNT national TV game, and the lines on that one, the early lines on that one, let's see what we've got for you. The Jazz should be favored. I would think I'm going to go by 4. Let's see what I get. The Jazz tonight, 7. Wow. 7-point favorite. Lakers are a 5-point favorite over the Spurs. Dallas is a 10.5-point favorite over Houston. Golden State's a 9-point favorite over Oklahoma City. I don't know when they ever win a game. And the Knicks are a 1-point favorite for you. By the way, they have Christmas Day lines up. We are a 5.5-point favorite over the Dallas Mavericks for Christmas Day. Only other game last night of interest, by the way, the Clippers blew out the Portland Trailblazers. Portland's had just 2 really ugly performances here in the early going. If you're going to get online, promo code Locked On, we'll get a 50% welcome bonus with betonline.ag. 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. It's betonline.ag. All right, so the road to 55 is something that we built a long, long time ago, and I've just decided to rebuild it again. I'm actually going to share my screen. I think I'm just kind of looking around on my screen to make sure there's nothing that seems like I don't want up there. Nope, no problems. All right, let's see. Share screen. Chrome. There we go. Okay. So you should have, for those of you on YouTube, you have the screen. The concept here is instead of looking at the schedule and going game by game, you look at opponents. So the Jazz play the Denver Nuggets 4 times this year, twice at home. I figure we win 1. We play them twice on the road. We try to win 1. And you kind of run down each and every team in the NBA. Portland, 4 games, win 1 at home, 1 on the road, split with Portland. Minnesota, get 3 out of 4, even though we've never played them well. Here's what's crazy to me about this. The league is so good right now. I only have a few teams that I think you just win all your games against. Oklahoma City, I think you got to go 4-0. Houston, I think you got to go 4-0. I think they're both really, really bad. Other than that, I don't have another team in the West where I project the Jazz to win all 4 of the matchups. Over in the East, I have the Jazz beating the Knicks twice, which might be not so easy. That was a stretch. I haven't beaten Cleveland twice, which after watching last night, I wonder. Detroit twice. Indiana twice. The New York and Indiana ones are the ones you have to get to 55. Orlando twice, which was not a stretch. Charlotte, which kind of was a stretch. And Washington. So when I really look at the key to the 55 from the Eastern Conference standpoint is you have Charlotte, Miami, Atlanta, Indiana, Chicago, and New York, and Toronto. Those 7 teams, and maybe even Boston, of those 8 teams in the Eastern Conference, you've got to win 3 of those road games. So of Boston, Toronto, New York, Chicago, Indiana, Atlanta, Miami, Charlotte. Those 8 teams, I have us winning in Charlotte. I have us winning in Indiana. I have us winning in New York. And if you can win 3 of those 8, then you kind of do your job while winning 13 of 15 at home against Eastern Conference teams. Only Brooklyn and Milwaukee do I have us losing at home against. Now, in theory, we could beat those teams. But at some point, you do lose games. We're not going 82-0. And if we're trying to get the road to 55, if we're getting the road to 60, then you actually probably have to win 14 of 15 at home. And you have to suddenly win, instead of those 8, you probably have to win 5 of them. And now we've upped our win total by 3, and you got to go find 2 other Western Conference wins too. But on the Eastern Conference, 13 of 15 at home, 7 of 15 on the road. So 7 and 8 on the road against the East. And I think it's those 3 of those 8. If we think about it like I'm John King of CNN and polling, and we talk about districts, you've got to win 3 of those 8 districts to be able to win the nomination. Over in the West, otherwise, you're really just playing this game of, I don't have us losing a season series to anybody other than I do have us losing a season series to the Lakers. We go and play there twice and home once. Obviously, if you want trying to get to 60, then you go grab one of those. Phoenix, I have us splitting. Denver, I have us splitting. Portland, I have us splitting. Clippers, I have us winning 2 at home and losing 1 on the road. That's a tough one right there to know that we'll do that. Houston sweeping. New Orleans, 3 out of 4. San Antonio, 2 out of 3, because we only play them 3 times. Dallas, 2 at home, none on the road. Memphis, 2 at home, none on the road with only 1 game. And so I suddenly have us winning 23 of 26 home games against the West for an incredible, to do this, 36-5 home record. 36-5 home record for us to win 55 games. And then in our 26 road games against the Western Conference, going 12-14. And that, to me, is the road to 55. We'll keep you updated on this. Right now, we're actually 0.5 games ahead because the projection has us going to Sacramento and winning 1 of the 2. We have 1, so we need. So the way it works is, if you look at, if you're on YouTube, is that in 2 away games, 1 projected win. As of date, we've played 1 game, so it's 0.5 projected wins to date. We actually have 1, so we're actually ahead of plan. We could actually move another half game ahead of plan today. Then on our upcoming road trip, we go to Houston, which we would need to win. Chicago, which is 1 of the 8 we're talking about, which would be a big grab if we could get that. And then Milwaukee, which I don't have us winning a game against for the season. So the upcoming road trip, actually, if we go 1 and 2, not earth-shattering at all. The following road trip after that, we come home for 1 against, I think, Sacramento, and then play Atlanta, Miami, Orlando. And it's the same concept. I have us losing at Atlanta and Miami with a win against Orlando. So you could have another 1 and 2. We could suddenly find ourselves winning 3 of our next 6 and along the way. So that's kind of the way to look at it. That's the road to 55 for you. And I just realized I never shared my screen. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I bet you just realized this. So for those of you that are listening on the podcast, you got the exact same experience as anyone, because I actually never did a good enough job of sharing my screen. So here's just the breakdown of it quickly for everyone. There's a little button I have to push. I got all excited and forgot to push that one little button. But here's the system and how it works. And there you are. How to screw that up on YouTube. Pretty good. Nice job by me right there. So if you're watching, if you just thought your computer wasn't working, actually your host wasn't working very well. Today's show is brought to you by our good friends over at Rock Auto. Rock Auto, amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com. Rock Auto makes it easy for you with their unique website that's easy to navigate, old school, whether it's a fuel pump, a carpet, a washer blades, whatever it might be, washer fluid, whatever, Rock Auto has it for you. There's no need for you to spend 30, 50, or even 100% more for you on your car needs, because Rock Auto has it for you at less. They've been serving customers for over 20 years and making sure that you do-it-yourselfers or the professionals get treated the exactly same with the exact same prices. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. It's rockauto.com. Today's show is also brought to you by DirecTV Stream. One device for this, one for that. That's outdated and done because it's here for you. It's a single way to get all your entertainment you love without the hassle and your Jazz basketball. And you can get it finally all together at DirecTV Stream. It brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes, no more need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible devices required. Content varies by package. Check it out at directtv.com. Jazz and the Denver Nuggets tonight. Thank you very much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. For your second listen, go listen to Locked On NBA, our daily podcast that gives you a rundown in 30 minutes or less on all the things that took place the night before. So make sure you go grab it at Locked On NBA. The network's a great thing to be a part of. We have some super hosts, and one of them is the Denver Nuggets host, Adam Maras. That is coming up for you. JC says 82-0 at YouTube in our chat room. I'm all in for that. I just think it's a little less likely than some others. All right, we'll get it going with Adam Maras of Locked On Nuggets here in a crossover preview of the big Thursday night TNT game. For those of you on YouTube, this show will end and it will premiere at 9 a.m. this morning for you in another feed. So grab it on that. And for those, hope you enjoyed the show. Have a great one. Talk to you soon.